whether we could weather the storm, so to speak, especially given the fact that this was a big storm. IBM, a very powerful company, a lot of software people, a lot of cash, a lot of resolve to potentially put Microsoft out of the operating system business.
Ironically, Microsoft played a role in developing OS/2, but Bill Gates was not about to abandon his own software. He decided to stake his company's future and his own reputation on the Windows software his team continued to upgrade, even if it meant losing IBM as his biggest customer. On May 22, 1990, Microsoft launched Windows 3.0. This new and improved version swiftly became a bestseller. Ultimately, IBM's OS/2 failed in the marketplace, leaving Microsoft with a virtual monopoly on operating systems for personal computers. But soon the Federal Trade Commission began looking at claims that Gates was using this dominance to cut off competition by cutting prices on Microsoft products. It seemed Microsoft's mild-mannered chairman had developed a seek-and-destroy image.
Bill Gates is not a brutal guy. He just needs to win. And he's willing to win, gracefully or non-gracefully. Doesn't matter. A win is still a win.
Predatory pricing was not the only charge leveled at Microsoft. In 1993, the Justice Department began a new investigation. It examined complaints that Microsoft charged computer makers a licensing fee based on the total number of computers they sold. That fee included computers not running Microsoft software.
They made computer manufacturers pay for the Microsoft software, whether it was installed on their computer or not. And as a result of that, they prevented competitors from entering the market.
The Justice Department has charged Microsoft, the world's largest software company, with using unfair marketing and contracting practices.
In July of 1994, Microsoft agreed to stop charging the fees in question, and the Justice Department dropped the case. Gates would never admit that Microsoft had a monopoly and maintained he was simply providing better software at lower prices.
I mean, we're not like an alligator. We don't go around and eat things. We come out with these little boxes, these nice little software packages, and you stick them in your computer, and you either have fun using it, and it helps you get things done, or not.
But it wasn't that simple for investors. The government probes and the fights with IBM and Apple caused the value of Microsoft stock to drop. There was now more pressure than ever to turn out the next version of Windows. Gates found some creative ways to release the tension. He appeared in commercials for his companies with Microsoft top gun Steve Ballmer. He made dramatic entrances to tout his company at software conventions, once arriving as Star Trek's Mr. Spock. Gates also instituted the Micro Games, a hodgepodge competition among the Microsoft workers, reminiscent of the games he played as a child at the Hood Canal.
It was like summer camp for adults. We'd all go to his house, and he would spend months figuring out what the various games would be, and he would be sort of the master of ceremonies. He'd form us into teams, very carefully figuring out the dynamics of the teams and how we might all interact. And then we would have to do these like summer camp games. And I met Melinda first at one of those micro games.
Melinda was 28-year-old Melinda French, a Duke graduate with an MBA. She had been working as an executive at Microsoft for several years. It was becoming increasingly clear to Bill's family and friends that she was the woman that the 37-year-old Gates had decided to marry.
He dated Melinda for quite a while before they got married, and so I saw them together over the years, and they always looked like they had a very special thing going, a level of intimacy and a level of intellectual connection that just caused sparks.
She's a really wonderful person, a perfect match for him. Very, very bright, very organized, very supportive, very interested in family and good family life.
Bill and Melinda were wed in Hawaii on January 1st, 1994. The night before the ceremony, Bill had arranged for a special serenade.
He had Willie Nelson play the night before his wedding, and it was a total surprise. Bill got up and he said, I really love Melinda, and I really want to sing her some songs tonight, and I don't sing that well, and so I asked a friend of mine to come and do a little singing for us, and so it was a big surprise.
In Melinda, Bill found a partner who recognized his commitment to Microsoft and understood the professional demands of his business. But just months after his marriage, the bliss Bill shared with his family would turn to heartache. His mother, Mary, who had been his most devoted ally, was diagnosed with breast cancer. She died in the early morning of June 10, 1994. Bill rushed home to be at his mother's side.
When he came to the house that night, he'd been stopped by the police on the way because he was speeding. And of course, the policeman recognized him. It wasn't the first time he ever got stopped for speeding, by the way. And they looked at him and they said, "What's going on?" Because he said, "I was sitting there and the tears were just running down my face." And the policeman said, "Well," he said to the policeman, "I'm sorry," he said, "my mother just died." The policeman said, "Well, you go ahead, you go on home, but please slow down a little bit if you don't mind." So he was very deeply affected by his mother's death, as we all were, of course.
In the years that followed, Bill picked up where his mother left off by creating a philanthropic foundation. Gates was a billionaire with enormous power. Microsoft was a dominating giant. What the government thought was time to cut Bill Gates and his company down to size. By 1995, 39-year-old Bill Gates had settled into a new life as a married man. With his wife Melinda, he took time off to explore the world from Africa to China. It seemed that Bill Gates now truly had it all.
This is a man so successful, his chauffeur is Ross Perot, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Bill Gates and the Bill Gates Dancers.
1995 was also a banner year for Microsoft. Windows 95 was introduced to great fanfare. Tonight Show host Jay Leno kicked off the ballyhoo for the new software.
Windows 95 is so easy, even a talk show host can figure it out.
Clearly, Gates was still Microsoft's best salesman, but from now on it wouldn't be all business for the boss. On April 26, 1996, Bill and Melinda welcomed their first child, a daughter, Jennifer.
He just loves that little girl. It's just so marvelous to see. It's very gratifying to a father to see his own son have the same feeling about children that I did about him and his sisters. So it's really gratifying.
At the age of 42, Bill Gates was an icon of the American establishment, the richest man in the world with a personal net worth of more than $50 billion, and a member of a power elite, which included President Bill Clinton, who shared his newfound enthusiasm for golf. The Gates style never meant flaunting wealth, but Bill spent considerable money for convenience and comfort. In 1997, Bill, his wife, and his daughter moved into a $54 million dream house. Along with family and guest quarters, there is a library housing the Leonardo da Vinci notebook for which Gates paid more than $30 million. Even though the house serves many business functions, for the Gates family, it's just home.
It's a remarkably family-friendly home, given what it is. I remember the first time going there after it was fully finished, walking through it and seeing, little Tykes cars in various places and things like that. I mean, this is not an antiseptic home that you feel afraid to touch anything or sit anywhere.
While Gates may live in a high-tech palace, he has maintained the sense of public service Mary Gates gave all her children. He has committed himself to giving away the bulk of his fortune with the help of his wife and father through the William H. Gates Foundations. They've donated $200 million for computers and libraries around the country, so others can experience the excitement Gates found as a child.
Not everyone in this country can afford access to a computer, and it just makes him realize that offering that kind of access to all citizens, be they 12 years old or 92 years old, will allow everyone to pursue that same excitement that he had as a youngster at Lakeside.
Gates and his family have also donated an estimated $800 million for educational projects and medical research. Although he's been criticized for not spending more time and money on philanthropy, at 42, Gates is not ready to give up the helm at Microsoft.
The industry keeps changing. I mean, it's the perfect game because it never ends. You can't sit down and relax.
In fact, by 1997, Gates found that he was way behind in the exploding Internet market. A company called Netscape was dominating sales of Internet browsers, the software needed to access Internet websites.
In some sense, I think the Internet gave Bill a whole new lease on life because it was something new to conquer.
Gates set out to close the gap with Netscape by including Explorer, his browser with every copy of the Windows operating system. It was viewed as a move to eliminate his chief rival.
If Microsoft chooses to disadvantage Netscape or any other competitor, then the consumer doesn't get a fair choice. When the consumer doesn't get a fair choice, the market can't work effectively.
Gates has been portrayed as a bully on some Internet websites. With his company controlling 95% of the world's PC operating systems, many users believe he has prevented better products from entering the marketplace. In March of 1998, Bill Gates was called to the Senate, where he was once a page. Again, he was charged with running an illegal monopoly.
In the electronic marketplace, Microsoft has the power today to exercise predatory and exclusionary control over the very means by which we access this Internet. It's a lot like General Motors having the ability to dictate what type of gasoline you put in your car, or what interstate you can drive on, or even how you get on the interstate.
Despite the accusations, an earlier injunction preventing Microsoft from giving away its Internet browser with Windows 98 was revoked. But Bill Gates was still not out of the woods. In May of 1998, the Justice Department in 20 states filed an antitrust suit against Microsoft. The legal entanglements of this case may take years to unravel, and the ongoing investigation has taken its toll on the youthful chairman of Microsoft.
I think it's been a real punch to the gut for Bill. I've seen him be very emotional and depressed about this, just as I would be. I mean, I've been audited once, and that was pretty awful, and I can imagine this is a lot worse than an IRS audit.
Gates may be wounded by the attacks made on him and Microsoft, but his business is still robust and expanding. In 1996, he ventured into television for the first time with the 24-hour cable news channel MSNBC. And he now owns the world's largest archive of digitized photographs and art images. Gates has also been exploring the use of computer technology in entertainment with Hollywood moguls like Steven Spielberg. Bill Gates is still competing. Perhaps only history will be able to answer the question, is Gates a monopoly builder who crushed the competition, or simply a guy who built a better mousetrap?
When the biographers and historians write the history of the 20th century, Bill Gates is going to go down as the best businessman of our century, and Microsoft is one of the greatest companies of the 20th century. It's remarkable what this company has managed to do in so short a time. This is one of the great success stories of the 20th century.